Hi, this is Jim Ferrero, and this is the last class, 9 out of 9 for the Intercambio Citizenship Preparation Series. My name is Jim Ferrero, and if you have a question about anything that you hear in this video or anything pertaining to citizenship, just send me a text, 720-660-5791. Even if the series of classes has passed and you're maybe no longer enrolled, you have a question about your efforts, your process to become a citizen, send me a text. I'll be happy to help you. All right. In this class, this is the last in the series of the class. There will be another series of 9 classes in a few weeks. If you wish to participate, and even if you participated before, by all means, you're welcome to sit in for as many as you wish. Just call Intercambio. You can talk to Andreas Rodriguez at Intercambio and enroll in the next series. And if you have any questions at any time, just text me. All right. And even I'll make the offer, I've made it before, when you come to the end of your processing time and you get your letter about your interview and the test coming up, even if you're not enrolled in a class at that time, if you'd like to talk with me, I could send me a text and I can set up just a one-on-one personal Zoom call, and we can go over anything that's on your mind to make you more comfortable with the upcoming interview and test. All right. I'm going to do a civics test review now. And the civics test review is over the 100 civics questions that you'll be asked to answer during the interview. Again, they will only pick 10 questions to ask the morning of your interview, and you only have to get 6 right. Hopefully, but you don't know which 10 they're going to pick, and so you have to study all 100. Those are in part 9 of the handbook. And in part 9 of the handbook is the question that they will ask, worded exactly as they will ask it. And underneath that are the acceptable answers. You can study this by reading over until you get comfortable with those questions as many times as you want. And then you should probably start studying with somebody else as you get within about maybe a month of the interview date. Because the test is oral, it's out loud. The test is given out loud. There's a few key things to remember. As they are asking the questions out loud, let them finish. Wait until they have finished asking the question before you answer. Even though you know which question it is right away, you recognize it, don't interrupt them. Let them finish asking the question. Take a little breath. Make sure, yes, that's the question I think they're asking, and I know the answer, and then answer it. Speak loudly so they can hear you and clearly. Don't mumble. If you're wearing a mask, be very aware that they might not be able to, understand you as easily. So speak slowly, clearly, and loudly. And also remember, you only need to get 6 right. The most important question, I think, of the civics questions is question number 1. What is the supreme law of the land? Feel free to answer these out loud as I ask them, okay? Get used to answering them out loud. What is the supreme law of the land? The Constitution. What does the Constitution do? Well, it sets up the government. It defines the government. And it basically protects the rights of all Americans, whether they're citizens or not. The idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are those words? We the people. What is the rule of law? What is the rule of law? Everyone must follow the law. Our leaders must follow the law. The government must follow the law. No one is above the law. What is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? One right. If you said any of these, you'd be right. Speech, religion, assembly, the press, petition the government. What did the Declaration of Independence do? It said that the United States is free from Great Britain. What is the economic system of the United States? A capitalist economy or a market economy? Can you name one branch or part of the government? One branch or part of the government. If you said any of these, you'd be correct. The Congress, the legislature, that's one part. The president or the executive, that's another part. Or the courts or judicial. What keeps one branch or part of the government from becoming too powerful? Checks and balances and the separation of powers. But you only need to say one of those. Checks and balances or the separation of powers. Who is in charge of the executive branch? The president. Who makes federal laws? Congress. You could also say Senate and the House of Representatives or the legislature. We elect a senator for how many years? 6 years. How many US senators are there? 100, because there are 50 states, and each state has 2 senators. Who is one of your state's US senators now? If you don't know this, you can go to the website www.senate.gov, and there's a thing there that you queue in your state that you live in, and it'll list the 2 senators for your state. The House of Representatives has how many voting members? 435. We elect a representative for how many years? 2 years. Can you name your US representative? To find your current US representative, go to the House of Representatives website, which is www.house.gov. And in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see Find Your Representative, and you enter your zip code. It's that simple. It's possible they may also ask for an address if your zip code covers 2 districts. Who does a US senator represent? All of the people in the state. Why do some states have more representatives than others? Because of their population. Some states have more people. We elect a president for how many years? 4 years. In what month do we vote for president? November. Who is the commander-in-chief of the military? The president. Who signs bills to become law? The president. And who can veto bills? The president. If the president can no longer serve, who becomes president then? The vice president. And what's the name of our vice president now? Kamala Harris. What does the president's cabinet do? They advise the president. Question 41 and 42, I think, are worth you going back and looking at the handbook and reviewing again. They are they sound a lot alike. So I'm going to ask them now and think about how they're different as I ask the questions, okay? The first one, 41, is under our Constitution, some powers belong to the federal government. What is one power of the federal government? If you answered to print money, you'd be right. Also, to declare war, to create an army, to make treaties. Those are things the federal government does. Now listen to question 42. Under our Constitution, some powers belong to the states. What is one power of the states? If you had answered to give driver's license, you'd be right. But they also provide schooling and education. They provide protection in the police. They provide safety in fire departments and approve zoning and land use. What are the two major political parties in the United States? Democratic and Republican. What is the political party of the president now? Democrat. What is the Speaker of the House of Representatives now? And this could change based on elections. You should go to Google and type in that question. What is the name of the Speaker of the House of Representatives? Just to verify, you know that name of the speaker right before your interview. There are 4 amendments to the Constitution about who can vote. Can you name one of them? Well, citizens 18 years of age or older can vote. Any citizen can vote. You'd be right. What is one responsibility that is only for United States citizens? To vote in a federal election. Name one right only for United States citizens to vote in a federal election. What is one reason that the colonists came to America? What is one reason that the colonists came to America? If you answered any one of these, you'd be right. Freedom, political liberty, religious freedom, economic opportunity, to practice their religion, and to escape persecution. Who lived in America before the Europeans arrived? American Indians, Native Americans. But what group was taken to America and sold as slaves? Africans, people from Africa. Why did the colonists fight the British? If you say any of these, you'd be right. Because of high taxes, because the British Army stayed in their houses, and because they didn't have self-government. But you only need to give one of those answers. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson. And when was the Declaration of Independence adopted? July 4th, 1776. There were 13 original states. Name 3. You only have to name 3. Now, the 13 original states are New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Of the states along the eastern seaboard, keep in mind, all of those states I just listed actually touch the ocean. That's an important thing. Vermont, for example, doesn't have a coast yet, and it wasn't one of the original 13 colonies. Neither was Maine, neither was Florida. Florida was actually a colony of Spain at the time, and Maine was part of Massachusetts. So just that list that I gave you, you should come up with 3. Maybe just the new states like New York, New Jersey, and things that might New Hampshire, of course. That might be an easy way to remember them. When was the Constitution written? 1787, the summer of 1787. The Federalist Papers supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. Name one of the writers. And again, only one. If you said any of these, you'd be right. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, or simply the word Publius. That's how all three of them had signed their essays. Who was the father of our country? George Washington. Who was the first president? George Washington. What territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? The Louisiana Territory, or Louisiana. Name one war that was fought in the 1800s. You could say the War of 1812, because 1800s, 1812. You could say the Civil War. That's the major war. You could say Mexican-American War. You could even say the Spanish-American War. Those were all fought in the 1800s. Name the U.S. war between the North and the South. The Civil War, or the war between the states. Name one problem that led to the Civil War. Slavery. If you said economic reasons or states' rights, they would accept that. But those things all boil down to slavery as well. What was one important thing that Abraham Lincoln did? He freed the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation. And what did the Emancipation Proclamation do? It freed the slaves. Name one war that was fought by the United States in the 1900s. World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Persian Gulf War. World War I, World War II are the most common people come up with. Those were fought in the 1900s, not the 1800s. Who was president during World War I? Woodrow Wilson. And who was president during the Great Depression and World War II? Franklin Roosevelt. Who did the United States fight in World War II? They fought against Germany, Italy, and Japan. Before he was president, Eisenhower was a general. What war was he a general in? World War II. During the Cold War, what was the main concern of the United States? Communism. What major event happened on September 11th, 2001? Terrorists bombed and attacked the United States. Name one American Indian tribe. Just one. You can look at the list on page 49 in the handbook. There's a much longer list that the USCIS will accept, but pick one or two tribes that you can easily remember. Name one of the two longest rivers in the United States. The Missouri or the Mississippi. What ocean is off the west coast of the United States? The Pacific. What is off the east coast of the United States? The Atlantic. Name one U.S. territory. If you said any of these, you'd be right. Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, American Samoa, Northern Marianas Islands, Guam. Name one state that borders Canada. There's a long list there on page 50. Alaska is the longest. The one that's due north of where I am in Colorado, there's Wyoming and Montana. Montana. But look at the list and think about the northern border. And the same question is asked about the southern border. Name one state that borders Mexico. This is a much shorter list. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California. What's the capital of the United States? Washington, D.C. Why does the flag have 13 stripes? Because there were 13 original colonies. Why does the flag have 50 stars? Because there's one star for each state, and there are 50 states. What is the name of our national anthem? The Star-Spangled Banner. And when do we celebrate Independence Day? July 4th. As we're going through that, hopefully you answered at least 6. You only have to get 6 to get this right. The civics questions you can study by reading over, becoming familiar, but eventually you have to study with somebody else so you get used to hearing the question and get used to saying the answer out loud, because that's how the test is conducted. All right. I'll share my screen again. The fee. The fee that is charged with the application, the N400, which has to account it. The fee will change and go up slightly on April 1st, 2024, for those who are mailing in. Their fee is actually slightly lower if you apply online. The difference is not that a lot, but it is slightly lower. The reason it's lower if you file online after April 1st is they don't have to send it out and have a company digitize your make a digital file of your application. So that's why it's slightly less. The fee can be reduced if your household income falls between 150% and 400% of the federal poverty guidelines. I'm going to have a class specifically about the fee next week, or it'll be class number 10. And it will explain, it'll be a short class, maybe about 30 minutes, but it'll go into detail about the fee. The fee can actually be waived if your income is less than 150%. So all of this is important to know. And if you have any questions specifically about the fee, even after you listen to the next class, by all means, just send me a text and I'll fill you in. What we're going to do now is a self-assessment review. This is for you. I'm going to go through the basics of what we've been discussing for the previous 8 classes. And as you see the questions, go ahead and answer them out loud, but make a note of areas where you didn't really remember the answer and then write those down. And that's what you really need to go back and study on. You'll find the answers to almost all of these, in fact, you will, in the handbook. But if you can't find them in the handbook, feel free to ask us about anything that you're still unclear about. And you know how to do that. Send me a text. So let's start. What is the application form called? What is the form you have to submit? It is the N400. Other important forms, though, that you need to know about are the AR11, which is for changing your address, the G1145, which is if you're mailing in your application, you fill out the G1145 to give them your email address and your smartphone so you can receive a text to know that they've received it. The G1450, which is the form you would fill out if you're mailing it in and you want to pay by credit card. Those forms you can download for free at the same place you can get the N400, and that is the address that's listed in the introduction to the handbook, www.uscis.gov, very important, /N400. So where can you get copies of those forms? From the website. This is it right here. How can you submit your application? Do you remember? There's two ways. You can do it by mail, mail it in. Might take a little longer for your to get your interview and your appointment by maybe a week or two. Or you can do it online, and that's that same website. There's a video at this website. If you go to it, you can watch it, and it'll kind of give you an idea of the process of doing it online. There's a little blue box that says File Online. You click on that when you're ready. But whether you do it by mail or do it online, go ahead and fill out a copy of the N400 completely, because when you fill it out, you're doing it online, all of those answers will be right in front of you, and it makes things a lot easier. What are some key points to remember when filling out the application? Use only black ink. Don't use colored ink of any kind if you're mailing it in. Send only copies if you're mailing it in. If you send an original, you probably won't get it back. Use NA if the answer is none or doesn't apply to you as you're filling out the form. Keep a copy of what you submit, whether you fill it out online or you mail it in, keep a copy of what you submit. Very important. And if you make a mistake, you're filling it out online, you can correct it there. But if you're doing it, filling out the form in black ink, just start that whole page over again. And you can download as many extra copies of the N400 from the website as you want. It doesn't cost anything. What should you do before you send in your application? You remember two things you should do? Submit a change of address to the USCIS if you've moved. If you have changed your residence since you got your green card, tell them before you send in your application. That way, when they get your application, they pull up your file, the addresses match. So that's why it's important to go ahead and change your address before you send in your application. If you're a male between the ages of, and we're in the US, between the ages of 18 and 26, you need to register with a selective service. Possibility that you were already registered and you didn't even know it. Some states do that when you apply for a driver's license between those ages. Some schools do it for you without you knowing. So it's possible. If you need to check, we talk about it in the handbook, but if you want to send me a text, I can tell you where to go to check to see if you were registered and you just don't remember. You should also review the handbook and the instructions for the N400 that you can download from that same website. But review the handbook before you send in your application. There's a lot of good information in there. What three pieces of mail, letters, can you expect to receive from the USCIS after you submit your N400? Three of them. You remember? You'll get an acknowledgement letter. And that acknowledgement letter, if you mailed in your application, will have a receipt number on it. And then that's what you would use to start a case status account. We talked about that in previous classes. You'll get a letter about your biometric, and if they need you to go in for a photograph and a new photograph and fingerprints, it tells you where to go. That's usually about a month after you submit your application. And then your interview appointment letter. These are the three letters you'll receive. Communications you'll receive from the USCIS. Keep everything you receive, all right? Keep a copy of it because it has good information on it. What four tests or evaluations can you expect to have to take during the interview? Four? You think of four? Well, the first one is English proficiency. How good is your English? They will determine that in the course of the interview, talking to you. That starts actually at the very beginning when they come out to get you in the waiting room and they ask you, how's the weather outside? Did you have trouble finding us? Small talk. They're starting to check your English. But how you respond, and you can use simple sentences in present tense throughout the interview, and that's good enough English for them. but that's being evaluated. The civics test, of course, 100 civics questions, and they will pick 10 of the civics questions, and you only have to get 6 right. English reading, using the English words only and only the English words that are listed in Part 10 of the handbook. They will make up very simple sentences. The president lives in the White House. George Washington was the first president, that sort of thing. And they'll ask you to read it. These will appear on a tablet. It's in front of you like an iPad. The tablet will have the sentence will appear and they'll say, read that sentence. You have 3 chances to read one sentence correctly. Very easy to do if you've been studying those words in Part 10. And the English writing. And this, again, using that tablet, that iPad that's in front of you on the desk during the interview, they will say a simple sentence out loud, only using the words that are in Part 10 of the handbook. The sentences are simple. Again, something like Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. They will dictate those, and you have to write them using a stylus on the tablet. Now, you can't erase if you make a mistake, so just put an X through it and write that word again. Keep going. You have 3 chances to get one right. But again, if you study the words that are listed in Part 10 of the handbook, you'll do well. When you become a citizen, you can register to vote right immediately. You can get a U.S. passport. You'll take your citizenship certificate, you'll go to the post office and have an appointment there and apply. Your children who are born outside the U.S. and are 18 years old and live with you full time, they become citizens when you become a citizen. That's called derived citizenship. You can actually run for public office. And you can sponsor family members back home for their green cards. There are 4 tests that you can expect during the interview. Those tests are English. Oops, I already did that one. For some reason, it went backwards. There we go. What are 3 things you should study for the interview? What are 3 things you should study for the interview? You should study, of course, the 100 civics questions. You should study the English words that are in Part 10, and you should study your own N400. Study the questions as well as the answers that you filled out. If you recognize the question, you understand the question, it'll be easier for you to remember how you answered it. Now, some things to remember. Things to remember about your interview. The USCIS is there to they're there to make citizens, not to keep you from being a citizen. It's their job to make citizens. They're on your side. 92%, more than 92% of the applicants succeed the very first time. If you have any questions, you have a place to ask them. Just send me a text. We will get you answers. And if it's a question I can't answer, I do some research, I'll let you know what I'm doing. I may end up suggesting you talk to a lawyer. I'll be the first person to recommend it if you do need to talk to a lawyer. And you can do this. This is something you can do. Say over 92% of the people who do it are just like you. So what should you be doing now, right now? Well, submit your N400 if you have not already submitted it, or do it as soon as you're able. And you could submit your N400 90 days before the anniversary of your 5 years or 3 years if you're married to a U.S. citizen. Study the English questions and the English words. Review the handbook. Those are the things you should be doing right now. And if you have questions, you know where to go. Ask questions. So that's the end of our 9 classes. Enjoyed having you in my class. If you have any question at any time, you are free to send me a text and I'll get back to you. I'll never say, oh, you're not currently enrolled in my class. I can't answer it. I'll never say that. I'll always answer you. So keep my number handy. And right before you go in for your interview, when you get your interview letter with your appointment, send me a text. And if you want, we can set up a private Zoom call, just you and me, and we'll go over anything you want to talk about the interview so you're comfortable and know what to expect. All right? Good luck. This is something you can do, and thank you for what you're doing. It's very important to those of us who are citizens. You're making America a better place by becoming a citizen. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.